I absolutely love Heywood Wakefield furniture, so when I saw this crusty beat up old Heywood Wakefield table on Facebook Marketplace, I knew I had to take it home and try to restore it. So if you've been wanting to learn how to restore this highly collectible furniture yourself, then continue watching this video and I'm going to show you my step-by-step process. If you've been following me for a while now, you know it's no surprise that I do not like working with stripper. For one, I really hate the goopy mess that comes with stripper, and two, I just try to avoid using chemicals altogether. So when I start off any furniture project, I always grab my carbide scraper first. I make sure that my blade is good and sharpened, and then I start removing the finish, going with the grain. If you've never used one of these before, I would highly recommend practicing on a piece that you don't really care about because you can end up slipping and gouging the wood, and I'm only saying that because I'm speaking from experience. I did scrape off the finish from the tops and the sides first because it was easier for me that way, but after that was done, I ended up taking the table completely apart. Because this table was two-tiered, it had a lot of these wooden supports, so to keep myself organized and make sure that they went back in the same spot, I marked whether they came from the bottom tier or the top tier. This piece right here ended up being glued on, so I had to take a paint scraper and a mallet and carefully try to pry it apart without cracking the wood. But you can see here at the end, I actually tried to bang it out with my drill at first. After I got the table apart and the majority of the finish was scraped off, I then grabbed my orbital sander and started sanding. I started off with 120 grit and then I went to 150 and then I finally finished with 180. The stain that I'm using for this table recommends to not go any higher than 180 grit, so just read the directions on whatever stain or finish that you're using. Some recommend to stop at 180, some recommend to go up to 220. A lot of this furniture does have curved round edges, so you want to make sure that you pay special attention to those. Hopefully you're fortunate enough to have a surf prep sander for this. I don't have one, so I just purchased these foam pads that I can put on my orbital sander and they work just as good. This table was either very well loved or extremely hated because there was a lot of extremely deep dents in this thing. So I wanted to try a new technique, and that was to add my stain into some wood filler in hopes that I wouldn't have to color match as much. Unfortunately, this didn't work the way I wanted it to, so next time I'm just going to stick to my wood epoxy putty, but it was fun to try something different. I also had some cracked wood in this piece, and I just fixed that by using some wood glue and some clamps. Sometimes the furniture is still stamped with the original color that was used to finish the piece, and in this case, this table was champagne. I like to use the Heywood Wakefield reproduction stain by the company We Refinish, and I was very fortunate enough to be sent over a bottle of their new formula in the color champagne to try out. This stain is water-based, so I like to put it in a container with a lid on it, so while I'm using it, I can keep it covered and it won't evaporate as fast. The new formula is supposed to have a slower dry time, and compared to the old formula, it does. However, you still want to make sure that you're working quickly and in small sections because the stain does dry faster than normal stains do. I like to apply it with a staining pad, however you can also apply it with a brush or a foam brush. I just feel like with the pad I have a lot more control over it. So again, I work in small sections, I apply a generous amount, let it sit for a couple of minutes, and then wipe it off. If you see that your stain is starting to dry before you're done with your section, all you have to do is apply more stain to keep it wet and avoid any streakiness. This stain is semi-opaque, so the more layers that you put on, the more it's going to cover up the wood grain. It is recommended that you do at least 2 coats of this stain. Just make sure that you let it dry 6 hours in between each coat. I did run into a little bit of an issue when I was applying the second coat. I accidentally let it dry before I could finish wiping it off, and it ended up becoming streaky. I did end up sanding it off, but afterwards I went to their YouTube channel and looked up some troubleshooting videos, and if this happens to you, you can wipe it down with water and it should take off most of that streakiness. I did have a lot of color correcting that I needed to do on this piece, but before I did that, I did a couple of things. One, this stain does make the grain raise, so before I did anything else, I made sure to lightly sand all of that down with 600 grit sandpaper. And 2, I wanted to add a coat of top coat, that way I was color matching to the final product and not the raw wood. I prefer to do furniture repair paste when I'm doing my color correcting because I can mix any color that I want to and I can paint on the tiniest of details. So I don't know where the footage went of me top coating after I color corrected, so we're just going to pretend that this is that, even though it's not. But after I was done color correcting, I did 2 more coats of top coat and I sanded in between each coat with 2000 grit sandpaper. You can use your favorite top coat with this stain. I always go with water-based polyurethane by Behr, and in this case I chose satin as my finish. Before I show you the final product, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more furniture flips and restorations, and let me know what you think in the comments. And here's how it turned out. I apologize for not getting more glamorous shots. I forgot to take footage when I was staging it, but I'll have some pictures at the end of this video. I hope you love this table as much as I do, and I hope it inspires you to want to refinish your own Heywood Wakefield furniture. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.